To your program of choice this morning on ITV, the discussion segment on nationalism and you. I am Ebenezer Oyetakin, your host, and with me in the house this morning are to my far right, Comrade Dalhat Suleiman. You're welcome to our studio.
Thank you.
Comrades this morning, with me in the house are to my far right, Comrade Demand. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Comrades this morning are to my far right, with me in the house, Demand. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Comrades this morning are Comrade to my far right, with me in the house, Demand. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Comrade, come to our studio. Comrade to my far right, with me in the house, Demand. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Comrade, come to our studio. Comrade to my far right, with me in the house, Demand. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Comrade, come to our studio. Comrade to my far right this morning, Demand. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Comrade, come to our studio. Comrade to my far right this morning, Demand. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Comrade, come to our studio. Comrade to my far right this morning, Demand. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Comrade, Comrade to my far right, come to our studio. Demand. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Comrade, Comrade to my far right this morning, Demand. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Comrade, Comrade to my far right, come to our studio this morning, Demand. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Comrade, Comrade, come to our studio this morning, Demand. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Comrade, to my far right, Comrade, come to our studio this morning, Demand. You're welcome. With me in the house,
Thank you.
Comrade, to my far right, Comrade Dalhat Suleiman this morning, Demand. You're welcome. With me in the house,
Thank you.
Comrade, to my far right, Comrade Dalhat Suleiman this morning, Demand. You're welcome. With me in the house
Thank you.
Comrade, to my far right, Comrade Dalhat Suleiman this morning, Demand. You're welcome. With me in the house
Thank you.
Comrade, to my far right, Comrade Dalhat Suleiman this morning. With me in the house to my far right, Comrade Dalhat Suleiman this morning. With me in the house,
Thank you.
Comrade, to my far right, Comrade Dalhat Suleiman this morning. With me in the house, Demand. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Comrade, Comrade this morning. With me in the house, Demand. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Comrade Dalhat Suleiman. Comrade to my far right this morning. With me in the house, Demand. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Comrade, come to our studio. Dalhat Suleiman. Comrade to my far right this morning. With me in the house, Demand. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Comrade, come to our studio. Dalhat Suleiman. Comrade to my far right this morning. With me in the house, Demand. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Comrade, come to our studio. Dalhat Suleiman. Comrade to my far right this morning. With me in the house, Demand. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Comrade, come to our studio. Dalhat Suleiman.
Honestly, we have the good side and bad side with regards to what's happened in the past few weeks. For example, let me take it from the PDP primaries. Just like my brother has said, we've seen imposition, sometimes an imposition that is being orchestrated in a way that even the person who seems to be going to vote for in the primaries going against his own will. And some people were kind of, how do I put it, took their own decision based on what they were able to get from the aspirants, especially those who give the highest bidder gets it all. We saw what happened at the presidential primaries of the party, where Wike and Atiku Abubakar were at the front runners. We saw a particular candidate. What is his name again? The man that stepped down, that withdrew from the primaries.
Tamboa.
Not Tamboa. There was this particular man who completely alleged that the party primaries was monetized. Hayatuddin, yes. So when it comes to my own place where I come from, during the party primaries, I was in my constituency. APC, they've done the House of Assembly, the House of Reps, and the Senate. We saw some certain things in some places, as far as the state is concerned. Some went well, and some did not go well. And in some places, for example, in my Opus, where I come from, we have a honorable member, Honorable David Zechariah, who contested for House of Representative position. The person got this thing I observed, the election I observed, the person was given a massive support by the delegates, and it was seen by everybody, every observer, to be very credible. I observed that myself. The House of Assembly candidate from my local government had no opposition. Nobody contested against him. He was a kind of an unopposed candidate. So his own was a kind of an affirmation. So people went there, but they say castable in order to meet up with the party, the requirements. Then the Senate, we had someone that came, who always come from outside the country, the younger brother of late Prince Abubakar Audu, Yahaya Audu. He's always out of the country, but whenever it's time for election, he will just come back and purchase the nomination form to contest for the election. And we had someone.
Did he win?
No, he lost. We have Senator Jibrin Issa Eshosho, who has broken the record as far as our constituency, the senatorial district, is concerned. It's one person who meant well for the people, and when it comes to the party primaries, put him side by side with someone who have not been around. He only comes whenever it is time for election. Definitely, you should expect the result even before the election. So, Eshosho won. Well, in other places, we got information that there are some places where we got information that people were indirectly imposed. Are you getting it? So this thing, we are talking about, this one has to do with the national, just like it's a movement. National, just look at with regard to the name of the program, Nationalism And You. Oh. With
both your experiences, Comrade Dalhat Suleiman,
Yeah.
would you say our democracy is getting better, is crystallizing and getting better, that is, from the primaries, from the party internal democracy, and the anticipated general election? Are we laying the solid foundation that befits a democracy that truly serves the people's interests? Yes.
So that is what it's supposed to be, because we are talking about a democracy that is the return of democracy from 1999 till now. More than, we are close to 20 years or so.
We are over 20 years.
More than 20 years. Okay. We ought to have been more than this stage that we are. But sir, it's unfortunate because The standard itself has been negated by the political actors. People who are supposed to be role model to us, being the actors and the institution, which is the political parties. I was watching a video on Sahara Reporters. The wife of Ondo State Governor, that is the first lady of Ondo State Governor, was crying foul for injustice meted out on her. She is going for Senator, I think, Imo Senatorial District, Imo East Senatorial District. If you look at how that woman was lamenting on camera, I was asking myself that if a senior citizen like this woman, she's a first lady in another state, and she'll be crying out for injustice meted on, out to her, then it's unfortunate. The processes have been destroyed completely. What have been happening, particularly from the APC's case, I will continue to mention APC because I'm a member of APC, and APC is the ruling party. And these cases is prevalent in the APC.
And ought to lead by example.
Ought to lead by example. But today, it is APC that has destroyed all the tenets of democracy. As I'm sitting as a member of the APC, I'm very saddened that the right to vote and to be voted for, which even in the Clifford Constitution of 1923 is recognized. That is colonial constitution. And today, in this 21st century, we want to completely condemn or destroy it because of selfish interest, and the party leader, the party hierarchy and the national level are not learning anything. Experiences of Zamfara and Imo and Anambra State are still fresh in our mind, but APC don't want to learn. It's a pity.
Comrade Yahaya Wada, what is happening in APC according to what he is saying? Is it a mismanagement of success or what? How do we tend that?
To a larger extent, I can call it as the mismanagement of success. The other time we came, we were here, we were advocating, clamoring that the ruling party should do the right thing. Especially we cried to the president that the right thing should be done as far as the party is concerned. But it is like looking at what is happening across the country. It is like the ruling party seems not to be ready to do what is right. We, just like I've said earlier, we have both good and bad sides to whatever that is happening now. But we want the ruling party to lead by the example. In a situation whereby, just like my brother has said, from Taraba State, he has been a member of this party right from the inception, from the beginning. This guy has contributed a lot to this party. And he has someone, a candidate, who he was supporting. I believe he was even coordinating for that person. This was the same person who provided the secretariat that the party was using in Taraba State. This person was paying whatever rent that was meant, even people that were working at the party secretariat, this person was paying. All of a sudden, we saw an Emmanuel Bashar who was a PDP senator, who fought against this particular person in 2015 and 2019, hijacking the party structure, just of the sudden, because the National Working Committee decided to just push aside loyalty. The problem is that if you don't give recognition to loyalty, those who have fought for the party, who stood with you when you were nobody, and just within little space, you see someone who is coming from another party, who was even in the opposition, who was fighting you, you now give preferential treatment to that person compared to the other person who has been fighting for the party. It is very wrong, and I want the party to learn from what happened in Zamfara State and River State in the last election. How that is not as acceptable. It is against, even we say there's no morality in politics, but even morally, we should have the thought that this shouldn't be done. Why will you impose someone? At least allow this to
But one should actually consider those who said there is no morality in politics to be insane, because the what do you call him? The India political enigma, Gandhi says, politics without principles destroys a nation. So if you practice politics without principles and take morality out of politics, it is because you are not well.
That is a
and
fact.
Things of that nature.
That is a fact.
Now, both APC and PDP, they have lay out set rules, either in their manifestos or in their party constitutions, which is more important than the manifesto, is it a case of dismissing our own constitution? The party constitutions are dismissed and nobody is observing or obeying the set rules and the regulations we set for ourselves? Yes.
I've said it earlier. The hierarchy of the party are the one that negate all those things you listed. None of them is ready to abide by what themselves written as constitution or the act of their party. None, because of their personal interest. And it is that interest that continue to trample on the people's people's right. Because the tenet of democracy, right of association, right to vote and to be voted for, opinion and whatever, and a single individual will start somewhere without minding what that is position will become of the people's interest. With a stroke of a pen, he will take a decision and look elsewhere. Whether the people will protest, whether the people will worry with such a particular decision, he doesn't care.
Many people say that the way we are beginning to practice our democracy, particularly in the areas of monetization of the process and in the areas of one single man taking the decisions for all, preventing elections and throwing up consensus that never consensed anything and the rest of it. The consensus in which hundreds of or millions of people are disenchanted and provoked and the rest of it, but just allow it to go and that kind of a thing. What does that mean? What is the implications of such practices to the larger democracy and its expectations?
You know, any political party that is not ready to listen to the ideas and advices from its members, at the end of the day, that particular political party will end up regretting. If you are a leader, you can only be a leader when you have followers. There are people who are following you, and your strength lies in those people, in your followers. If a political party, for example, look at with what is happening in the country now across the two major political parties, I think we better learn from all these advanced nations that we believe we are copying. You can't just take a decision on your own without consulting your members. You decide on your own. You just sit down in your office. You write something. This is the candidate I want. Whatever that it will take, let his name be there. Without even consulting people. At the end of the day, the implication it will have on a political party, there are some people who will stay within the party, and there will be a kind of protest vote. There are some people who, at the end of the day, you see a kind of mass exodus of people from one political party to the other, because they believe that they were not given the chance, the opportunity to...
Let us vary the questions. You see, many people, Nigerians, who desire to see a Nigerian nation that meets the aspirations, collective aspirations and goals, developmental goals of the people, of the collectives, they have said that the monetization of our electoral processes is as a result of leadership of political party acting, being transactional. So they are selling positions to the highest bidders in the party and negating the primary requirement of election as a bedrock of democracy. Moving from that, if that is true, that the party hierarchies are transactional and selling positions to be contested to the highest bidders, what are the implications for the larger democracy and emergence of leadership that governs?
The simple implication would be that we will destroy the democracy and we will continue producing leaders that doesn't have anything to offer. You are even talking about, it's not even transactional. I call it, most of the political parties, their secretariats are now merchandise of trade by barter. Give me money, I'll give you position. So from the sale of form, you know that we are not ready for serious democracy in this country. You are paying the price of your form at 50 million naira. For example, for somebody that's going for governor. 20 million naira for somebody that's going for Senate. 10 million naira for somebody going for House of Rep. Where would people get this money? In this democracy. And the three prominent way that we even allow to prevail during primary election, these same political actors have bastardized them. Let me take, even if you talk about direct primaries, who will give you the valid register booklet for the name of party membership? Who will give you that? Not even the national can provide it.
They don't have it?
Sir, even if they had it, it's doctored. Even if they had it, it's doctored. I can still take you back to my state. We know what happened, that people who just came in PDP went and changed the name of many membership who registered for this membership card over 3 or 4 years ago. They changed their name, bring in their new people, because when that registration of membership was going on, they were not in the party. They were doctored the party membership, the delegate. How did they even produce delegate? Is the person that the governor want that will be delegate? Go and do delegate congress and see if they will allow it to the process to go as supposed to be. They will still impose delegate on people because those delegates will do their bidding.
Now let us zero back. Echoes from the primaries is what we are discussing, and we've been talking to Comrade Dahar Suleiman and Comrade Yahaya Wada. Now let us take it up. PDP had held their own presidential primaries. What are your impressions regarding that presidential primaries? What are your impressions? What are the echoes regarding that PDP presidential primaries?
It is very simple. The PDP presidential primary has come and gone, but it is still very clear. When I listened to Governor Nyesom Wike a few days back after the primary election, where he was accusing some people ganging up against other side of the country, and he was blaming his own people for not standing firm. So the fact is that from that presidential election, what happened was that the highest bidder got it. And one thing that will happen at the end of the day is, once he gets into office, the first thing he will do is to get whatever that he spent back. That's what will definitely happen. But in as much as there were money that exchanged hands, people can still, to a larger extent, people can still see that, yes, people came out to express their interest. The delegates came out to express
Very well. Your own impression of that presidential primaries?
Sir, with what transpired in the PDP presidential primary, I think the pressure now is on APC to do the right thing.
I like that.
I can tell you categorically that.
So you love the way the presidential primary?
Of course. As I'm sitting here, I will tell you that as a APC supporter, since after that PDP presidential primary, I'm having a restless night every day, because I am praying that the party will do the right thing.
Because the primaries that brought President Muhammadu Buhari to power, which I personally witnessed in Lagos, was just as beautiful as what PDP have had.
Certainly.
No matter what we say transpire under the carpet and the rest of it. That's underneath.
Yeah,
because
underneath.
We did not see them carrying the bag of money on their head, right in that this thing. It could have taken place a night before, and that
We are not equally ruling it out.
We are not ruling it out.
But the civil way they handle and manage their primary.
Exactly.
I just pray that they have set a precedent for the APC to do the right thing too.
Very well.
If APC do the otherwise, I'm telling you, the chances of Atiku Abubakar becoming the president of this country is to some extent 65%.
All right, now let us proceed to one important issue that is also of germane interest to Nigerians, particularly Nigerians of the southeastern region. They have been crying for marginalization, and yet one of their own, Pius, And another one again, they came into the contest. One would have thought with over 120 delegates from that region, at least IM should be able to pick 90. But he picked only 14. Are they truly ready for the national leadership, the presidency of this country? Yes, they had to.
Sir, I was asked this question severally, and I will continue to say it. As a Nigerian, I'm very rational, and as someone that promotes equity, political wise, I think the Southeast should be given a chance. But the Southeast are not ready for that chance. That is the challenge.
Please, what is your impression of it?
Yes, I have said it all. The two candidates, Ohabua and Pius Ayim, came from the Southeast. They obtained the PDP presidential form. But at the end of the day, Pius Ayim scored 14. Why the other person scored 1?
For 40 million.
For 40 million. The other person got one.
For 40 million.
So the vote
out
of the over 100 delegates from the Southeast,
okay,
only 15 voted for their own person. That shows that even among themselves,
they are not ready.
They are not even ready. They are not interested in having a presidential candidate from their own side. But I've said it on this platform here before, that the Southeast, if you look at the kind of loyalty, the commitment they've given to PDP since 1999 up to this moment, I think for whatever reason, PDP should have considered the kind of micro zone this thing to Southeast. Let them decide who comes from there. But at the end of the day, that we can now see what happened. They left it open, and the flag bearer, the candidate of PDP has emerged. So the fact is that they are not even ready. People clamoring or shouting for them, advocating that the presidency should go to the southeast, and the people from even other zone. Just like myself and my brother here, we are not from there, but we want them to produce the president, because it is like we have a country where we have three. Nigeria is built on the kind of tripod. We have these three tribes, the Hausa, Yoruba, and the Igbo. Though we have some other ethnic groups, but these people from 1999 to this moment, and they pay their due, especially with regards to supporting the major opposition party now, PDP. I believe and I think the right thing that would have been done was to allow them to produce the flag bearer of the PDP. But as we can see, all is now history.
But many people will agree we disagree with you that they are not ready for the presidency. That is why out of 120 delegates vote from their side, their own Pius Ayim got only 14, and the other person got 1. Many people will say that those delegates were a product of political manipulations and does not represent the true interest of the Igbo nations. What will you say about that? Yes.
Yes, sir. You know, in politics, you can't rule out manipulations, and at the same time, when you conduct opinion polls, after the emergence of Atiku Abubakar, I've tried to talk to some few persons from the Southeast, and the information I got from them was that what they want, that they want PDP to just win the next presidential election. They don't care where the person comes from, and the only person who they believe. I'm telling you about people from the Southeast, people here on the street.
Okay. Who were not delegates.
Yes, these same people were the people that were crying foul against Buhari. that is it their birthright to rule this country? So this issue, the issue of Fulanization agenda then and Islamization, these were the same people that were shouting all these things. But now, these same people, I approach them, try to get their view with regards to what happened. I said, why will PDP do something of this nature against your zone? I forget about that too. All they want now is to just have a PDP president in this country. And they believe that the only person, who is the person in the Southeast that can defeat any candidate from in APC. You can imagine that. So the issue is that it's not just about even the kind of manipulation. If you talk about the manipulation, cannot be done by an outsider. It can only be done by an insider. So whatever that happened in the East were also done.
Comrade Dahatu, let us take it further. Now, Atiku from the North have emerged as a PDP presidential candidate. there had been so much ado about and hula baloos about zoning, and the rest of it. Today, if APC produce a Southern president, a Southern presidential candidate, vis-a-vis Atiku from the north, and all of the political permutation, do you think APC can defeat PDP?
Sir,
Yes.
with the emergence of Atiku,
Yes.
it's only two major things that APC need to do.
Yes.
Look at a candidate that can match Atiku strength to strength,
Must that candidate come from the north?
wherever he's coming from.
Okay.
Strength to strength, a candidate that will equally have political spread like that of Atiku Abubakar.
Okay.
A candidate that can balance the equation when you come to finance,
Okay.
religion, and tribe,
Okay.
regardless of where he's coming from. But majorly, we need a candidate that have political spread across the country and with the financial capacity, because these are the two things that will give Atiku an edge. Whether you like it or not, Atiku is a big fish in the Nigeria political arena. So when you are bringing somebody from the APC, you have to equal Atiku in these two major things that I listed.
Comrade Yahaya, your take on this?
All I know is if I count the first 10 or 6 presidential aspirants in APC, who I believe there are about 7 of them that I believe once they are given the ticket, by God, they will be able to defeat Atiku Abubakar. But they can only get it right, just like what he has said. This issue of having that influence spread across the country is very paramount. Mm-hmm. You can, we have these 7 people I have in mind. I believe they have that spread across the country. About 5 of them have the financial muscle to withstand Atiku also, and coupled with we know we have issues in the past 7 years or so, but I still believe this government has done some certain very good infrastructure, some projects which going into the election, it will speak for them. For example, you talk of this second year, I think by November also, they say it will be completed. It will be, before the election, it will be, I think it will be, how do I put it? It will come to an end before the election. All those things, I believe it will speak for whoever that emerged as the APC presidential flag bearer.
Right now, we must not deceive ourselves. We are almost a 2 political parties nation. Two political parties nation. We don't know whether a third force may emerge, because we have seen Kwakwaso and the rest of them in their own amalgam taking up a political party. Yeah. And sometimes individual in a party, a single individual in a party can be even more than a state, a single state.
Very influential.
Yes, through their influence and things of that nature. Let us take it in a straight jacket. Is it possible for a candidate from the south to defeat a candidate from the north in an election that we are now talking about the 2 giant political parties? Is it possible for a candidate from the south to defeat a candidate from the north? Yes, Wada?
Very possible, sir.
Okay.
We saw it in 2011, for example.
Okay.
When Goodluck Jonathan when he contested after the death of Yar'Adua. Okay. After he recontested. That was when they had this gentleman agreement that maybe after his next 4 years, the presidency should go to the north. in that 2011, we saw that most of the governors from the north, for example, they all stood with him. All they needed doing then was to ensure that he got the needed 25% or above from their zone. And there was a massive support from the south. And within the north central, we saw some states that also voted for him massively. So at the end of the day, Goodluck Jonathan emerged as the presidential flag bearer of the party, and the general election, he also won. Though President Muhammadu Buhari was able to defeat him in the north. As usual, President Muhammadu Buhari will always defeat anybody in the north. in the core north. So he was doing that, but Jonathan, they ensured that Jonathan got the needed 25% that will make him win the election.
Your take on this, Comrade Hart?
Yeah, I will corroborate with him, but moving forward into the 2020 election, is this your question in line with next year election? And if it is true, I mean, if it is so, is it that the southern candidate should come from APC or PDP or any other political party? So that I will corroborate with the current situation we are in.
Northern candidate has come from PDP already.
Okay.
So supposing a southern candidate come from APC.
Even in APC right now,
yes,
we have a candidate from the south that can defeat Atiku.
Okay.
It is not good for me to begin to mention them here.
We don't need to mention them.
But I know that we have a candidate from the south in this APC that can defeat Atiku. And that's why I say, regardless of our personal opinion or choice of candidate, each and every Nigerian know that candidate that can defeat Atiku, because I mentioned political spread. We knew who among them have that political spread across the country. I mentioned financial muscle or the financial capacity. We know who among those candidates in the APC have such financial capacity that can compete with Atiku. And when you talk about political sagacity, because it's not all about facing Atiku, you have to bring somebody that has so much experience in politics, that have seen it all, that have participated over time. So we have that.
You know what? One of the reasons why I'm asking those questions is because, you know, we tend to be taking it for granted that he comes from the north. If they feel a candidate from the south, he may defeat and that kind of a thing. But if we don't, we have also heard it that APC are saying that since Atiku is from the north, let us look for a candidate from the north, and they've been raising that kind of alibi. But I, as someone who has witnessed so many political processes in Nigeria, I had witnessed late Shehu Musa Yar'Adua defeated Olufalaye in Ibadan. You understand? We have witnessed Abiola defeated Tofa inside Kano, and things of that nature. Shouldn't our politics have galvanized beyond all of those considerations and focused on developmental necessities?
People with such perception, it seems they are far from the truth, because it's like many Nigerians or some Nigerians are not aware of the level of political consciousness within the polity now. Nigerians have gotten so much enlightenment regarding voting their choice of candidates. So forget about Atiku is from the north. If the APC should do the right thing, even in Adamawa, people will vote an APC candidate against Atiku, who is from that state. And it happened in 2019, of course. It happened in 2019. We have numbers or handful numbers of electorate in Adamawa that voted against him. So it is not about he's coming from my zone this time around. In fact, a core northerner, the northern electorate, the one that I will classify under the Buharism political space, we even prefer to vote somebody from the southwest, because they of course know what the southwest did to APC, to northern Nigeria in 2015. Because whether you take it or you like it or not, take it or leave it, with the support of the southwest, that is why Buhari is present today.
Yes.
Because if Buhari was alone, as he has always been alone, maybe the story could have been different. So it is not about Atiku. That's why I insist, and I'm still insisting, that APC should do the right thing with the emergence of Atiku. Is more reason why we must do the right thing. If we mistakenly, because I'm hearing consensus all over, consensus is composure. It happened even in the gubernatorial primaries. Consensus is composure. Look at what that woman was saying in that video that I tell you, the wife of Ondo State Governor. She said, even when they were asked to step down for somebody in the name of consensus, people were crying. Is that one consensus? You ask somebody to step down for consensus, and the person is crying. It means it was not a consensus. It was composure. And this thing was even displayed in the National Convention. That is one problem I have with this our party. To manage crisis or party management. This party have failed in party management, sir. Look at the shameful act that took place during the convention. A woman who was contesting with Beta Edu, the now woman leader of the party, embarrassed the leaders of the party on podium. They did not negotiate with this woman that Beta Edu is their candidate. They were saying it at the podium, and the woman said, hey, it is a lie. she collected the microphone. I did not step down for anybody. And it was at that venue that the leaders of the party began to call the woman to negotiate with her. And I asked myself, because I was at Eagle Square, I asked myself, why doing now? Why doing this now?
No.
So it means all this while you doesn't have
No, just waiting.
the wisdom to say, okay, this woman, let's call her aside and negotiate with her, so that we'll just come and do what we call affirmation. Okay. And you were lying before the woman that the woman has stepped down for better edu. So these are not consensus as far as I'm concerned. They are all composure. So the APC should be worried of this word consensus. Allow people to go and exercise their franchise. The delegates are even willing. After all, an APC delegate that had that his colleague in the PDP collected 5 million naira, 10 million naira, 15 million naira. He's equally willing and agitated to go and queue up. You don't know what you will get to. So allow them to go and vote. Don't do this consensus, because at the end of the day, the backlash will be something else.
God bless you.
Are we, by these quick runs to consensus, are we not deliberately closing democratic space? Yes, you.
Very tough question. Consensus. When you talk of consensus, everybody have to agree. Not in a situation whereby someone will be crying that he or she was not informed. Just like what he had just said, he gave an example of what's happened when Edu became the national women leader of the party. All I want the party to do, and the president to do, the president should ensure that everybody is carried along. Let them have input in this, so that at the end of the day, we will not have people aggrieved.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We have been talking to Comrade Dahat Suleiman and Comrade Yahaya Wada. It's been wonderful having you on Nationalism and You this morning. And we hope when we have the time to call upon you, you will make yourself available unto us. Yes, let us practice our primaries and democratic, elections in such a way that will not generate or grievances or overheat the polity, so that the 2023 elections can meet us in a peaceful atmosphere. That is how we draw the first curtain on the first segment of the discourse. The second discourse is coming in immediately.